Hello friends, today we will be discussing one of the most important literary ages, that is the Restoration Age. Restoration Age, just like almost all the literary ages, was a reaction to the age that became prior to it, that is the Puritan Age. We must understand that Restoration Age abandoned and it completely rejected the principles on which the Puritanism was established. Puritans believed that man was born in sin and that's why he must penance throughout his life, live a life of just necessities, not indulge in any kind of entertainment, not be happy, have fun, but only be sustain itself only on important things, only the things that he can live upon. So that is why Restoration, it completely abandoned it. It was a reaction to the Puritan age. Restoration began in the year 1660 when Charles II was restored to the throne of England. Now, Charles II was a ruler who was not a very responsible ruler. He was in his office just to have fun, but not stand up to the responsibilities as a king. So he and his courtiers, the literature of the Restoration age is the literature by the courtiers, especially the Restoration comedy. The Restoration drama that we will be majorly focusing on today was divided as almost all the dramas, tragedy and comedy. And Restoration comedy was the kind of literature that portrayed the life, the world of that time. Restoration comedy, one of the most important terms that highlights in this kind of comedy is the witty repartee. The witty repartee was a witty dialogues between the sexes, between the opposite sexes, that were also about, it was the comedy of manners rather than the comedy of humors that was by Johnson. Now, comedy of manners is another important term that we must remember in this age. Comedy of manners was about, very confident and very witty dialogues between the sexes, and the comedy arose out of those dialogues, rather than comedy of humor that that highlighted the flaw in a person's character, a particularity in a person's character. Another important focus of Restoration comedy or the Restoration drama was that the women, for the very first time, appeared on the stage. Before that, the women parts of the drama was played by men, the young lads of that time. So when the women came to the theater, the people who went to the theater did not go there to see the conflicts of humanity or the serious subjects that the Jacobean and the Elizabethan drama talked about, but just to have fun, to enjoy themselves, to indulge with other people, to know other people, to socialize. So we see how different the Restoration drama was. The Restoration drama was not just different because of the kind of people that viewed that drama. It was also different about because of the subject matter that had it. So the subject matter of the Restoration comedy was very simple. It was not. It had nothing weighty in it. It had just comedy. It had really crass sexual content. We will see the hero, not a typical Shakespearean hero, who was very good, who was valorous, courageous, who had hamartia. There was no hamartia in the Restoration drama, but the hero was just passionate. He was, and whenever he fell from grace, or whenever he would enter into a conflict, all he did was talk about valorously, talk about in elaborate poetic style about his dilemma, and that's about it. So the tragedy of the Restoration period was not well as well. The tragedy of the Restoration period was in fact of an inferior kind. It was the heroic play or the she tragedy that we call it. The she tragedy, it highlighted the dilemma of a woman, of how that woman is tied up or trapped in conflicting values between love and honor or love and duty. Dryden and Otway, these were the two dramatists that were the highlights of the Restoration tragedy. Otway, he deviated slightly from the heroic plays, and he wrote the she tragedies. Uh, as far as romantic comedy is concerned, we have Etheridge, we have Congreve, we have Wycherley, and one of the most important dramatists of this age was Afra Ben. Not because because she was a very prolific dramatist. Yes, she was definitely, but at the same time, she was the first professional female dramatist that came to write. Her The Rover is a typical Restoration comedy, and this was inspired by, it was based on Thomas Killigrew's Tommaso or the Wanderer. So we see now Thomas Killigrew was, we must remember that he was the one who restarted the theatre. He was the first one to restart the theatre in 1660. 1642, we know that the the drama was completely closed and shut down. Of course, there were dramatists such as William Davenant and Killigrew who tried to write the drama during this period sneakily. We must also remember that in the play Sage of the Roads by William Davenant, he tried to convert it into opera so that he can so that he can create that play, but he couldn't stage it, so he had to convert his own house into a theater, his own room of his house into a theater, and he staged that drama. That was the first English opera, The Sage of the Roads. So this was all about the Restoration, the summary of a Restoration period. Of course, it's not just the drama that we have Restoration poetry. It is a very vast topic. We have Restoration poetry, we have prose, we have the women writing that happened, because women at this point of time, they began writing. We have Afra Ben, we have the niece of Killigrew, then Anne Killigrew, she was called. So we have to see that how the literature of that time was changing slowly. Women were starting to come to the fore, write professionally, and it was the first time that this happened. We have no major woman who was writing in the Elizabethan or the Jacobean periods. They might have been one or two, but they were not very major. So Restoration period was a reaction to the Puritan age. It was the women started coming to the literary front, and at the same time it was a diverse literature where the comedy was crass, sexual, the tragedy was completely overwhelmingly loud, and the plot did not have the weight, but the dialogues did. The dialogues was they were very extravagant. Also, we must also see how the poetry, the neoclassical poetry, it began from this side. So the Dryden was a poet, Pope then came later, so poetry was also there. So this is a summary, a kind of a rough sketch what Restoration drama was about, highlightedly. So any questions, any problems you have, you can always contact us, and you can drop in any suggestions that you have, what all ages that you would like to discuss or ask about us. You'll always have a quiz after, and you can get the link of the video of the quiz after this video. Any problems, any suggestions, you can contact us. You can write down the comment below, and please subscribe us. We'll try our best to help you. Thank you.